You see this right here? That's no good. All right, what's up, everybody? So, welcome to another episode of Household Journeys. So, what ended up happening here with my fire pit is that the silicone that I put right there to seal the fire pit with the bricks, I guess it got too hot and it dried out. And so by drying out, it's cracked and the seal is not useful anymore. So what I'm going to end up doing instead is I'm going to apply a new seal around the iron ring there, and I'm going to use some of this cement that can be used with fire bricks. All right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and clean all this junk out. Then I'm going to lift the ring up and clean out whatever silicone residue is around the fire pit there. In between the bricks, the silicone in between the bricks is still pretty solid. It's just the silicone that came in contact with the iron ring is what faltered. All right, so this is a powder right here. See, and instructions say 1 quart cool clean water per 12.5 pounds. The bucket of this cement is 12.5 pounds, so this only requires a quart of water. All right, so how much is a quart? I'm not really quite sure, so I'm just gonna guesstimate. And then I'm just going to progressively add more water until I get a good doughy mix. Ugh. Brazzers. All right. All right, so it looks like I made it a little too soupy because the instructions say, while wearing gloves, take a handful of the material and form it into a ball. Toss the ball an inch into the air a dozen times. If it breaks apart, it's too dry. If it slumps or sags down through the fingers, it is too wet. Excess water lowers the strength of the bond and increases time needed to set. Mine is not like that. This is definitely not forming into a ball, so I guess I definitely put too much water into it. I have more of a batter consistency, like a peanut butter kind of consistency. All right, so I just kind of let the mixture settle a little bit, and it's still kind of runny, but I'm also getting a little impatient here. So I'm just going to apply it and see what happens. Okay, so give that a little mist. And yeah, you can see that's still very, very runny. I'm not happy about it, but oh well. Let's see what happens. See, I had some loose pavers over here, so, and that did not work at all. Yeah, that does not stick at all. Okay, no adhesion whatsoever. All right, now I'm going to drop in the fire pit, the ring. There we go. Press that down a little bit. Try to find any air pockets. Now I'm just going to go ahead and dome up the sand again to create that seal between the aluminum flashing and the iron ring. All right, fire grate goes back in the center. All right, so here's how the new seal looks. Looks pretty clean. Only thing though is that it does leave a little bit of a lip. When I did just the silicone, it sat more flush, which I did like, because when it's not in use, I do like to put things here, but oh well, it's not a big deal. And then inside of here, if you can kind of tell, there's a little bit of a dome, an inward cave right there with the sand, kind of into a little bit of a bowl shape. That way, the air has an easier time rolling in and under the grate. So yeah, gonna give this 24 hours to set, and then I'll light it up and see how well it works. All right, so the kiln dried 2x4 seems to be going pretty well. Is it super smokeless? Not really. It's nighttime. It's kind of hard to tell, but you can see a little. You can still see some smoke going up into the sky there. But I will say this though, you can kind of see here how the smoke comes up and then it gets rolled back into the flame. So it is working. I think I do have a pretty good seal. See how the smoke's just kind of rolling back in. Yeah, so at least from a sealed standpoint, I'm not seeing any smoke coming from the rim of the ring. I'm gonna have to test this during the daytime to get a better look. But that's how it's looking so far. So I put a smoke tube right here so you can see if the air is being sucked in or not, and in this case it is. And then you can actually see some of the smoke shooting out of the holes there. All right, so what I ended up getting here is a cover for my fire pit. It's a mesh cover, and the purpose for that is so that way it can kind of catch some of the embers that come out from the fire, because I've had a couple of embers land on my outdoor couches and have left little burnt holes in them. So I want to try and minimize that as much as possible. Okay, got a little stick here, probably for repositioning the lumber. See a little bit of hardware. I believe these are the handles. Okay, so here's one section of it, so you can see. Part 2, part 3, and so not the strongest. I can obviously very easily bend this, but whatever. Here's our 4th piece. So 4 pieces in total. All right, so when it comes to hardware, they give you a little wrench, screwdriver, 2 handles, as well as a couple of screws, screws and some nuts there. This is supposed to be what it looks like when it's all assembled. So from the looks of it, the pieces are mirrored from each other. So not all the holes don't line up with all 4 pieces. They line up in pairs. So I'm not really sure which pieces are necessarily supposed to line up with one another. Which pieces are supposed to pair up. Oh, okay. So one, you can see this, one set is smaller than the other set. So I guess that's how you figure it out. You put the 2 smaller pieces together. Let's see if these pieces are the same size. Oh yeah. See, these 2 pieces appear to be about the same size. And then, yeah, these 2 pieces right here are the same size. Okay, so that's how it goes. 2 big pieces together, 2 small pieces together. So looking at it, the side that has a hole in the middle, line those up and screw those together. It's nice and tight. Now repeat the same thing for the smaller pair. All right, so there's the smaller side. It has 2 holes here at the top. Insert the small piece within the bigger piece, like so. And you do have a little bit of a gap here, see? So my fingers can slide right in. And so I would say that's about an inch gap that you have between the two. Last pair of screws and bolts here, or I mean screws and nuts here. All right, there we are. There is a little bit of rubbing, but it's not a big deal. I mean, this thing's gonna be exposed to fire anyways. All right, so let's go put this on the fire pit. Here's my fire pit. And so just line this up. This is a 36-inch fire pit. Unclose that. Bam, works. So fits pretty well on here. And then if I go over to my cushions here, you can see that right there. Those are little burnt holes that came from the embers of the fire pit there. So that's why I wanted this grate here to kind of try and minimize and control some of those embers from flying up and out into the open air. All right, so the way this works is you just pull up this side of it. And the reason I went with this design is specifically for that, because this way you don't have to pick up the whole thing anytime you want to rearrange any of the firewood. You can just open it up like that, rearrange your wood, and then close it back up. Granted, this thing isn't very heavy. You can totally pick it up with one hand, but still, this thing's going to be getting super hot, and you don't really want to be picking up something like this when it's super hot. And plus, it becomes a little bit more cumbersome trying to take the thing off every single time. So I do like this design of just opening and closing it. All right, so let's go ahead and throw some firewood in here. All right, and now we wait. All right, so unfortunately, someone summoned Shenron, and it started raining on me here. But so I'm gonna check back on it every so often. I'm just gonna keep it going even though it's raining. It's raining sideways! So at this point, you can see how clean the fire pit's burning. Now, it's still raining, so just keep that in mind. And I ended up, because I didn't have any actual firewood, but I did have some old pieces of pine, some 2x4s. So I ended up cutting 2 8-foot 2x4s into small little blocks. And so that's what's fueling the fire right now. So one thing I want to mention is that if you don't use enough wood, you're gonna get a lot of smoke, because the fire ring, the iron, doesn't get hot enough to create that smokeless effect in order to really suck in the air and push the smoke back into the fire. So that's what was happening with mine when I did just the 1 2x4. It wasn't getting hot enough, and I was experiencing a lot of smoke. But now that I put 2 in there, you can see there's not really a lot of smoke. Now keep in mind, it's not non-smoke, it just smokes a lot less, okay? But it's going pretty good, fire's nice. This new mesh grate here, it's working really well. Haven't had a lot of the embers flying out into the sky, and the smokeless effect is looking pretty good. So there you go. You know, you'll still see a speck of fire here or there, but nothing major. All right, well, with that being said, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care, people.